You know, Fred, I think I might just, and whoever else out there is watching this, I think I might just make like 15, 20, 50 more of these. This is great. I love talking about this. I can talk all day. No, but really, I seem to be dancing all around here, but I really liked, I haven't got to say a lot of positive things about your video. I really like that you're, putting all these ideas together, that you're, you know, maybe I don't agree with, the ideas that you're putting out or trying to combine in themselves, but I understand what it's like to have a couple, two or three really good ideas, and it's knowing that they're gonna relate somehow, and that there is this connection, and that you're trying to, you're trying to come up with this creative way of formulating a bigger story out of these ideas that you've hit on. Um, I do think it's problematic that you don't talk more. I mean, you're talking about how the self wants to be an object, and I mean, in terms of, I mean, in terms of some pretty abstract properties of objects that, I mean, we only notice. Uh, you said, let's take this mouse for example. This is my mouse for the computer. Um, you notice that it has an inner horizon, which are all the possible transformations of its visible we'll just use visual perception of its visible profile under all lighting conditions and all the context that's around it. This would be the object, uh, you know, the bounded uh, surface of the object. The outer horizon would be all of the objects that are giving it form in the background, such as myself if you're focusing on it, and whatever else is around it. This is the outer horizon, inner horizon, and you can see that this is the boundary between the outer and the inner horizon uh, is marked out by this figure in ground. But when do you ever think about that? I mean, when do you say, you only really pay attention to how it is white and oblong and hard and whatever uh, when you don't know what something is. When you have to go, it's like a white, hard, oblong. You don't know what it is. I mean, normally we don't go looking and concentrating on those kinds of things. What we concentrate on is its role. Well, we don't concentrate on that. What we use. I have a quote on my profile. If you go down there and from the Tao Te Ching, uh, it says that we use wood to build a house, but it's the emptiness in the house that makes it livable. And we use clay to make a pot, but it's the emptiness inside that we use. We you take 30 spokes and put them together into a wheel, but it's the emptiness in the middle that you put the axle through and makes it usable. So we find benefit in what has being, but we find the real use in what has not in non-being. So the point is that you know it's not real clear to me why the object would have. Oh, I guess the self. So if you wanted to come up with a reason for why the self would have an object like structure, it would be because the self is something that becomes an explicit uh, theme of our attention when things go wrong, or when we need to call attention to something that's gone wrong, or usually we just go about our day and we don't consider ourselves as subjects. We don't really consider ourselves as things in any sense at all. I mean, this is what Hubert Dreyfus has been uh, arguing forever in relation to robotics. We just do. We just are being in the world. We just absorb coping is what he calls it. You know about that. So if it had an object-like structure, it would be because there was a breakdown, as he would call it, and we were actually giving our attention to it to the self, or what becomes constituted as the self, in a way that is analogous to the way that we would pay attention to objects when things break down. I don't know what it is. Remember, so that I can see that would maybe be the reason why it would have some of the shared properties of objects which are present which are made explicit, made present to us instead of just being uh, playing where normally we don't pay attention to the mouse. I actually go beyond the mouth. The mouse, if it's doing its job, withdraws. So uh, it becomes a sort of conduit into what I really am paying attention to, which is what's on the computer screen. So just like when you're hammering, the hammer sort of recedes or withdraws, and what you're concentrating on is, if you're a really good hammer, you could just be talking to someone else, or you're concentrating on the nail going into the board, not the hammer itself. So it's almost, I think it's something that Michael Polanyi had been calling attention to in his book on the tacit dimension, about how whenever you are trying to do something, there seems to be like an intermediating or a mediating term that sort of withdraws and becomes almost invisible. It becomes tacit, it withdraws into the tacit dimension. Um, so the self I think is normally like this. It's this uh, this transparent structure that's normally not thematic, not an object for our attention. It's not a representation. It's an implementation implemented into and situated in the environment. They're all very popular concepts now, but I think that they're right. Um, just like when I'm speaking, I don't notice my tongue. My tongue becomes transparent. If I did notice it, I would probably bite it. It would not. It would have a breakdown. Or I would notice it if I had a breakdown. If I did bite it, that's when I would notice the tongue finally there. And in fact, brain scans have shown that the the region that they say representing the tongue in the somatosensory cortex becomes inhibited when speaking. So it's funny, you actually see that this part of the body becomes, the somatosensory cortex is all about feeling, right? So you don't, it does sort of become literally tacit, goes into the tacit dimension by being inhibited. Okay, so but at the end you said an important point, and that's what I really wanted to reach, is that you said you thought that this idea of yes, no, the idea of is this here, yes, 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 no. That's not the object. Clear, well-formed boundaries means a clear yes, no structure, binary structure to what we are not. And that's what we would, at the highest level of objectification, that's what the self would aspire to be, at least consistent and able to take a stand one way or the other on just about any issue that would come its way. So are you this, are you that? Like I said in the last video, you would first have to be this or that, or at least understand what it would mean to be X or Y or Z in order to pick, in order to say, oh, I am this or that. In order to, I mean, uh, you could only bear witness to or report on or lie about even your boundaries. I don't think that saying yes, no actually constitute those boundaries. I don't think it makes you into that person unless, uh, your wife or this girl asks you, oh, are you a vegetarian? And you think that she is, so you say yes, and that could be a life-turning event for you, like it was. But I don't think most of the time we wouldn't. And also note that, the only reason that you maybe fibbed a little bit and said that you're a vegetarian is because you have this whole history and you came into this situation with much more than just yes no answers. But you had a self which was attracted to this. You were attracted as one. Your sense of identity was bound up with this situation of being attracted to this woman, and it just spontaneously came to you without reflecting on it like an object. That's the real trick, just to discover what that sense of personal identity, which persists over time, is much more than just the 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 brain, I guess, at any, because it's extended over time, it's temporal, it's embodied, it's situated in the environment, it's socially related. Um, but yeah, a big difference between what we intend and what we actually do. In the end of the video, you said that you were talking about the yes/no distinction, and how you had maybe uh, are yes no questions, and you said that maybe that we were sort of confabulating some of this, and that wasn't true. But yeah, I think that's right. I think that's the point, is that the yes no boundary